as I promised you, I'm going to restore to where I can in this stream a Range Rover Defender 90. I just need a few minutes, guys. I need to set up something in my room. I'll be right back. What's up, guys? I'm back, and as I promised, we are going to restore fully, maybe in a couple of streams, a Range Rover 90. I just need to check if I have the car in here somewhere. I just need to check. I think it's okay. I think it's in here. Exactly. Here's the car that we're going to restore. The newest generation Range Rover 90. It's a pretty good looking car, but right now it's a bit roughed up. Of course, it doesn't have any wheels except this one. The body is partially missing, and yeah. So here we go. I'm going just to clean the car first, so I can get all the dirt I can off the car. So this beautiful military green. I'm also going to detail the interior. Doesn't seem to be that dirty. But anyways, let's do it. Now I'm going to take it to my second car lift. Now I'm going to strip the whole body. Till there's just body work left. Of course, the Range Rover Defender 90, the Land Rover, I'm sorry, Defender, has had a couple, when I mean a couple, there has been a few generations of this exact car. This is the latest generation. It's in the DLC pack of the Land Rovers. It's known for its off-road capabilities, and it's very loved in the car community. So I thought it would be the first car that I did on stream. I'm going to just remove this wheel. I'm going to do the engine first, because it's just my favorite part of the car. It's always the engine. I do it always first. It's a little bit more detailed, and it takes a bit more time, so always do it first. Then I'm gonna do the suspension. Then you just need to install a transmission and all the other bits and bobs. As you can see, it's a pretty straightforward engine. It's a diesel inline 4. I'm just gonna drain the oil, if there is any. Oh, there is, and it's a bit... It's not looking very happy, the oil on that engine, so I'm going to put this on the other car lifter. Pull out the engine, and let's work on it. So I'm going to do full performance parts, as this engine is not very powerful. I'm going to fully restore it with full performance parts. It should do around 200 horsepower and 600 and around 600 Newton meter of torque. Shouldn't be very powerful. That's why I will do full performance parts, and of course I'm going to replace everything on the car to 100% restore its condition, so it looks as good as new. The engine hasn't been very different from generation to generation in the Defender, especially because it's a pretty straightforward car. It's an off-roading car. It should have a diesel engine, so that it can produce more torque and go up hills. That's why the inline 4 diesel has been in almost every generation of the Defender. Of course, maybe they've added a turbo now. The restoring of the engine, it's not very detailed. It's only like the rough parts. There's like no actual fine tuning. You just remove old and put in new. So it's actually pretty chill to do this. This engine actually uses a very interesting setup of the camshafts and the rocker arms. It actually has the rocker arms over the camshafts, so the camshafts go in here, and then the rocker arms go above, and they hit the valves, opening them up and closing them up, of course, with the camshaft tying. Which actually is not very common on cars. Usually the camshafts are above, they just hit the valves. It's actually mounted vertically, not it's not directly impacting the valves. It's not camshaft on valve action, it's actually camshaft on rocker arm action, which then moves down to the valves, which is not a very common setup of the camshafts, which actually makes this a very interesting engine and much easier to restore in this game. Because usually with the push rods, with a push rod setup, it's very much time costing to restore a car like this. And with this, it's pretty chill, and it actually produces more power from having a double cam setup instead of a rock rod and push rod setup. And because it's diesel, of course, it's always going to produce more torque than power. And having cams instead of push rods doing the opening and closing of the valves makes it for a more aggressive setup. More fuel is burned, hence bigger torque and power outputs. So now I'm going to restore everything that I can on the car, except for like turbo, alternator, manifolds, injectors, etc. Because that I'm going to put performance parts. Engine heads I'm not going to restore. I'm going to restore, let me just check. The drive shafts, of course. For the car, they will be already restored. Then the transfer case, the starter, and the gearbox, I'm going to put a performance one as well. Oil pans, the water pump. There's unfortunately no performance water pumps in the game, which is actually pretty sad. And I hope the developers actually, with time, they just put some performance water pumps, because they really help in producing more power in the engine. Because if it's cooler and it breathes better, then you should have a bit more power. Less heat being produced should help with the overall production of power. Oh, I missed that one. Oh, fail. Shift and the engine block. Perfect. So I'm going to start. Oh, I missed the fuel filter. I'm going to start by reassembling it. By reassembling the engine, putting the block in and the crankshaft. And I'm just gonna buy the parts as I need them. So I'm going to need 4 pistons, a flywheel, etc, etc, and I just go here and buy them. Clutch plate, pressure plate, and the flywheel. A new alternator. I'm just gonna put the name of the engine, inline 4. If I'm not mistaken, let me check the name. DT, okay. I4 DT 224. Oh, it's 244. Oh, my mistake. 4. Set of cams, engine head, manifolds, 4 injectors, ignition wires, a new turbo, rear muffler, middle muffler, and the intake manifold. After that, I'm going to need probably some new timing things, like I should have idler rollers. Of course, I have many. I just buy them as many as I can. I should need, of course, new pistons. Just go here and search for pistons. I'm going to buy a new filter and a new fuel pump. Some glow plugs that I should need as well. So I'm gonna need 4 of these, and then I'm gonna buy some piston rings. The water pump, the power steering pump, I mean, here is one. The spark plugs are going to be needed because we have glow plugs. I'm going to need a new throttle though. Where is my throttle? Where is it? I think it should be this one. Though it's a single overhead cam one. Oh, I have some piston rings. Good. I bought many of them because I have a couple of cars to restore that I'm probably going to do off stream. This is the car that I'm going to do on stream right now. And I'm probably going to pass on to a BMW or another type of car. It's going to need a bearing for the bearing right here for the clutch. Put my fuel filter on. And put the roll caps. Pump already, so I don't forget it. Some rod caps. Let's continue to put those in. Gonna need a new oil filter. Yes, I forgot. An inline 4 filter. Well, I'm just gonna put oil. Okay, let's rotate the engine upwards. Put the new performance head. Some other rollers. I'm gonna install this. The cams. But I need some new cam gears. A couple of them. That should suffice. I believe there is no performance camshaft bearings, so I'm gonna need to buy this one. I need, of course, a new camshaft cap. Hello, JC. Hello. Send a kiss to Mr. Frosco. I'm a big fan. Kisses, Mr. Frosco. After installing the glow plugs, let's put the ignition wires. The manifold on this side, along with the turbo. Timing chain. Gonna need some shoes. Serpentine belt. I have the radiator fan, and I'm just gonna need a belt tensioner. Belt tensioner right here. And it should be all done. If I'm not forgetting anything, okay. Can remove the engine from the stand and put it on the car. Everything is in. Now I'm going to continue by removing the fluids from the reservoir. All of these reservoirs need to be drained before I remove them, or it's gonna cost me some cleaning action. Bleed the brakes. I believe there is no more fluids. Suspension is actually, I think it's restorable in the most parts. This would be restorable. This would probably be restorable. All of the reservoirs need to be actually exchanged. And none of this, and I'm gonna get the new performance ECU. Some much needed power. Remove the radiator. And let's remove the air filter. Lift the cover, the air filter, and the base. Now let's search for air filter. It should be right here. Exactly. Oh. Remove the cover from the box. ABS module. Because the latest generation does have ABS. Of course, the older generations didn't have it. Now let's charge up the battery. It was pretty discharged. Let's fix up everything here. So the servo I can salvage, the radiator as well, and the clips. repair the ABS module and the ABS pump. Perfect. Most of this can go back into the car. I just need some air filter bases and covers. Cover and the base. And I should be all set to go. Oh, I need to wait for the battery. Coolant reservoir, the battery, remove the battery, and plug it back in. Okay, the new STCU as well. Now, let's just remove all of the relays because they should be pretty worn out. 62%, of course. Not going to be in the greatest of conditions. Just gonna recover the base of the fuse box. And I need to buy new fuses because of course you can't restore a fuse. Once they're worn out, you just send them straight into the bin. Let's get new ones though. I'm gonna buy a couple of them, I don't really care if I have some left. 8 of these, 7 of these, a couple of these, a couple of these, a couple of these, and I don't only need one of these. Okay. After this, we are moving on to the suspension, which should be double wishbone in the front and leaf spring in the rear. Let's just push this back up, put this in its place. Of course, this is all-wheel drive because it's a Defender. It's supposed to go off-road and you need the extra grip always. So we're gonna have a bigger axle in the front. It's still gonna have the leaf spring, but it's just the control arm. It's still gonna have some of the leaf springs actions. For example, the U-bolts and the spring plate. Oops. What am I missing? Oh, I need to remove the knuckle U-ring. This car having a double wishbone shock absorbers in the front should help with some of the more abrupt bump absorption in the front, making the car more stable in hill climbs and in descents, because you always need some stability in the front so that the car doesn't deviate from its path. And of course, being a solid axle in the front, it should be more stiffer, giving it a better clearance in the bumps and better bump absorption as a consequence. It should be a little bit tougher in the back for the people that are inside, but for the actual ability to go over rocks, it should be way more stable. And of course, you actually need a solid axle in the front so that you can have traction. That is all achieved through a transfer case that is connected to the gearbox. Almost finishing up. Oops. Just need to repair the axle and we should be all done. Just buy a couple of parts that we need to finish up the suspension. The tie rods, new double wishbone, which I'm going to do right now before continuing to repair this. I'm gonna go here, buy a couple of these, a couple of these, and a couple of these. Just set them up here. Letting it tap it. And probably I'm just going to finish up the front of the suspension right now. Then I'm probably gonna have to split, so enjoy the last bits and bobs that I'm putting in the car, because then there's probably, I don't know if I'm going to stream in the middle of the week. Probably I'll have the opportunity to do it, but I will probably only stream next Saturday. But for people that already left or that are leaving, see you in next week's stream. Oops, need to buy new caliper and a new cylinder. And the rubber bushing. I need, oh, the earrings, I almost forgot. We have one. And I'm going to buy the tie rods. So inner and outer tie rods. The earring is here. Inner tie rods, two of them, and the outer tie rods. Because of course those are crucial parts that cannot be restored, unfortunately. Because once they wear out, if you try to restore them, you're most definitely going to mess something up, and the car is not going to be drivable. Okay, progression status. We did the engine, the front of the suspension, and all the things inside the engine bay. Next episode, we're going to finish up the car, probably start a new one, finish up the rear suspension, transmission things, all the exhaust bits and bobs, the outside of the car, etc., etc. I'm going to lower the car a little bit so that you can see the engine bay, how it looks after. So we have the shiny turbo, the shiny inlets, the shiny alternator, all of this side with everything shiny, everything brand new, new fuse box, new everything. So I'm just gonna save my game and thank you for watching and see you next time.